Ramon, come and help me. You can sell enough to be able to drink our person this evening.
Ramon, have this. This is what you have to do. You understand? This is what you have.
Nazara.
Ramon,
oh, don't worry. Stains don't matter. It can be wiped off with just one wash.
Okay, thank you.
Zara!
Ramadan Kareem.
From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger,
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things that makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people.
Hello and welcome to Political Voice on VOP TV. I am Mastinachi Okafo. There's a lot happening in the political space in Nigeria, but of course we always have two stories on our radar to discuss with you, our viewers. And joining us virtually to discuss this is Dr. Joe Daja, who is a political analyst and educationist. Also, we have Mr. Kweoluwa Taiwo, who is a political analyst as well. But before we get right into the stories of today, let's take a global overview of happenings around the world. The UN General Assembly recently addressed the issue of conflict diamonds and highlighted challenges facing the Kimberley process. Russia, a major diamond producer, expressed concern over what they saw as Western countries prioritizing their interests over global cooperation in the diamond sector. The resolution, tabled by Zimbabwe and Tanzania among 5 nations, was supported with the aim of addressing insecurity perpetrated by conflict diamonds. Kimberley objectives are to prevent conflict fueled by diamonds and promoting conflict-free diamond trade. While progress has been made with 99.8% of diamonds now sourced conflict-free, challenges remain as seen in the recent failure to reach a consensus during the Kimberley process plenary last November. Established in 2003, the Kimberley process remains vital in preventing the trade of conflict diamonds. Togo has delayed parliamentary and regional elections amid tensions following controversial constitutional reform. The reform approved by lawmakers last week replaced the presidential system with a parliamentary one. It also hands executive power to the Prime Minister, reducing the presidency to a symbolic role. Also in the new system, the president will be selected by Parliament without debate for a single 6-year term, rather than being directly elected. However, opposition parties have rejected the reform, fearing it could let President Faruk Gnashimbe stay in power. Faure succeeded his father Gnashimbe Ayedima, who died in 2005 after ruling the country with an iron fist for 38 years. Recall that the presidency announced the postponement of the elections on Wednesday, but did not give a new date for the polls, which were initially due to be held on 28 April, saying that the delay was to allow for consultations over the contested constitutional charges and changes. Reacting to the situation, the Conference of Togolese Catholic Bishops urged President Gnashimbe to sign the constitutional changes into law, citing the need for broad consultation and a more inclusive national debate, noting that the constitution change was approved almost unanimously, with only one legislator voting against and one other abstaining. Bringing it back to Nigeria now, former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Uche Secondus, have launched a blustering attack on the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, FCT, that's Nyesom Wike. Secondus criticized Wike's recent labeling of him and the former Minister of Transportation, Abiye Sekibo, as expired politicians due to their support for Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Just last week, Secondus Sekibo, alongside Senator Lee Maiba, Celestine Omehie, and Austin Okpara, publicly declared their backing for Fubara, calling on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to intervene and rein in Wike. In response, Wike, during a live media chat in Abuja, denounced these PDP leaders and Rivers State as expired politicians and political buccaneers. In a statement released by his media aide, Ike Abonye, Secondus didn't hold back, branding Wike as a showman known for twisting facts and engaging in double-speak for political advantage. He also condemned Wike's remarks during the media chat as appalling and unfortunate, particularly for portraying revered political leaders of Rivers State as transactional politicians, political vampires, and political buccaneers. This escalating feud highlights the deepening divides within the PDP and underscores the intense power struggles within Nigeria's political landscape. Loyalists of former Abia State Governor Keze Ikpeazu switched from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress. Notable defectors include Anthony Abuzuere, Ikpeazu's former Chief of Staff, and Eze Chikamnayo, a former Commissioner for Information and Strategy from Umunnochi. The defection occurred during an APC stakeholders meeting in Umunnochi ahead of an upcoming zonal caucus meeting led by Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Honorable Nkiruka Onyediocha, and the National Welfare Secretary of the party, Honorable Donatus Nwangba. The move has stirred controversy within the opposition PDP in Abia State. Chief Chimezie Okoronkwo, Chief Eze Wanganga, Chief Uzo Ihuka, Chief Sam Nwogu, and the former ASOPADEC chairman announced their departure from the PDP during the stakeholders meeting in Isiochi, Abia State. This decision signals a significant shift in the state's political dynamics as they align with the APC for future elections. We'll now go on a short break, and when we return, we'll delve straight into today's topic of discussion. Stay tuned.
Hi, Zara.
Come on. Come and help me. You can sell enough to be able to track our person this evening.
Ramon, have this. This is what you have to do. You understand? This is what you have.
Nazara.
Ramadan, watan samladane. Nasoda kaunane marabauta dashi.
Ramon, me haka.
Oh, don't worry. Stains don't matter. It can be wiped off with just one wash.
Okay. Thank you.
Zara!
Ramadan Kareem.
Welcome back, and this is your political voice on VOP TV. Following the close of sales of expression of interest and nomination forms by the All Progressives Congress (APC) for its governorship primaries in Ondo State, the party has raked in about 750 million naira. The sale of forms were purchased by no fewer than 16 aspirants vying for the party's ticket ahead of the November 16 governorship election. VOP gathered that 14 male aspirants picked the forms for 50 million naira each, while 2 female contenders paid 10 million naira each for the only expression of interest form due to the party's consideration for females and persons living with disabilities. The purchase and collection of the forms began on March 27 and ended on April 3, 2024. Among the aspirants that purchased the forms are Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa, among many others. Also, the All Progressives Congress (APC) has announced the extension of the sale of nomination and expression of interest forms and delegate forms for the 2024 gubernatorial primary election in Ondo State. The extension, which the party approved, will now last until Friday, 5th of April, 2024. Moving on, following the endorsement of Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa by some elders of the Ondo State chapter of the All Progressives Congress (APC) ahead of the primaries of the party, some governorship aspirants have described the development as deceitful and caricature. The aspirants who courted the elders under the G of APC Abure'S stated that they lacked the authority to screen and adopt any of the 14 governorship hopefuls. Speaking on the development, Wale Akinterenwa, who described the action as shameful, maintained that the endorsement was a deceit that would not last. Joining us virtually to discuss this is Dr. Joe Udaja, a political analyst and an educationist. Also, we have Mr. Okbeoluwa Taiwo, who is also a political analyst. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Hello. Glad to be here.
You're welcome. The sale of nomination and expression form of People's Democratic Party in Ondo State, which started on March 7, ended on March 21, which of course was said to have generated a total of 259 million naira. The prices of this form were as follows. The nomination form sold for 30 million naira, and then the expression form was for 5 million naira. Moving it back to that of the APC, which generated a sum of 750 million naira, which was for the sale of form. And it was said that the 16 aspirants vying for the party's ticket ahead of the November 16 governorship election acquired 14 male aspirants picked these forms for 50 million naira each, while 2 female contenders paid 10 million naira each for only the expression of form interest for due to the party's consideration for females and persons living with disabilities. How do the exorbitant prices of the governorship nomination forms, particularly for male aspirants, reflect on the inclusivity and accessibility of political participation within the APC in Ondo State? And also, I want to know how these prices also affect the suffering in the nation. We are the voice of the people, and I want to believe that a lot of school of thought wonder why these prices, why these forms are being sold for such an amount of money amid all the happenings in Nigeria currently. I'm asking this question to Dr. Joe Udaja.
Hello. Well, you know, first of all, there's a lot of background noise coming from somewhere. So I don't know if you're hearing me.
Yes, I can hear you properly.
Okay. Well, you know, this, I guess I call it Nigerian way in terms of how much people pay to get a nomination. Essentially, it's nomination form. And my feelings about it have always been mixed. One is that it may be a way to see who is actually interested. Two is that it may be a way to, say that it's important that a politics or this position is important. Regardless of how you look at it, I never liked it because I think there is the part of it that is more buying a position. And when you look at other things that happen in Nigeria, one can actually say that that's what it is. Now, you know, we don't have to copy United States or other developing nations, okay? There are things we should emulate them. And I think this is one of those things that we can work towards emulating them. You know, I ran for office here, and all it took me was to go to the Election Commission and collect the forms. And then the expenses I made was going around to get people within my district to nominate me. Yes, I had to spend money again for campaign.
Are you talking about in Nigeria or in diaspora or abroad?
That's abroad.
Okay.
In United States, I was just saying that we don't have to copy what happens in US. Okay. But if we are copying what happens in US in lifestyle or other things, well, we might as well look at some of these things as a way to improve what we are doing. So I'm not saying we should, but I'm just saying that this may be something we can look at and say, look, in order to allow the common person to get access to these forms and to the political playing field, we should not focus on money, and also we should make it lower for average Nigerian to be able to, who may have a great idea but doesn't have money, to be able to get these forms, join in the campaign, and be considered as a serious candidate. So on that issue of money, I have big concern about it. But again, I know it's been going on for quite some time.
All right, moving on to Mr. Ogbeoluwa Taiwo. I'm going to throw some question to you. How do you feel about the amount of that's been sold for these forms? For the APC, the amount of form being sold for the nomination form is 15 million naira, and for PDP, the amount is about 30 million naira. What are your reactions on that? Don't you think that these monies being paid for these forms is the reason why most politicians, when they get into power, it feels like they want to grab as much money as possible that they would want to, thereby not knowing that the reason why they are being put in power is to cater and to make sure that the people get as much as the basic amenities that is required in the state or the country at large. Well, how do you react to that?
All right, thank you for having me. You know, Nigeria, you know, we are in the Fourth Republic, and we are also practicing democracy, talking about the presidential system of government. And we can see the evolution of our democracy, starting from 1999. We saw what transpire in a different party. We also see what have been happening both in the First Republic, Second, Third, and even now the Fourth Republic. One thing you must understand when we talk about politics. Politics, number one, like the theorists will say, is the authoritative allocation of value. There are values involved in politics. And now one of the major values involved in politics is what? Money. That is funding. Election and electoral process in any part of the world, especially in America, like Dr. Joseph has earlier mentioned, electoral process is never complete without funding as part of the key characteristics of the process. Now, when we talk about funding of an election, there are two things we must look at. Number one, there is funding on the part of INEC. Number two, there is funding on the part of the political parties. Now, where do INEC get its own funding from? INEC is getting funding from federal government. So, where is political parties? Where are they getting their funding from? They are getting their funding from dues, donations, expression of interest, funds from their party members. And that means that the budget, every electoral budget within a political party is being funded as a result of what? The nomination form being purchased by the individual aspirants within the party. Now, another thing you must understand is that as of today, INEC has not been able to regulate the funding of electoral process from the political party. And that is one thing we must, all of us, all hands must be on deck, that the laws, the acts that establish INEC must be well robust in the 21st century. And part of it must be that they must have strong regulation on the funding of political parties. If not, by the next 2027 election, it is possible that political parties like Labour Party might be selling form for 1 trillion naira. So you can see that there are foundations, there are technicalities around this funding process. And this process must be well galvanized, must be well ironed out, must be well highlighted and controlled by the authority of INEC. So based on what is happening on those states, these are the foundation that I can give you for now. And for me to say, as part of the 720 million that has been galvanized as of now by APC, I will tell you, for you to understand that those money, funding of each political party is being done by the board of trustees. All right? So if board of trustees have done the funding for the last 3 years, for the last 4 years, each of the national executive committee member, most of them, they don't fund the party. They even receive allowance. Some of them even receive salary. They receive emoluments. So now, where is the funding coming from? The funding is only coming from the BOT members. And the rest now, the latest funding now is coming from what? Nomination of form and expression
we're having a network
of interest.
Okay.
So for now, we must understand that those are very critical on the part of each political party. So, and we must also understand that the highest bidder is always the case. So whoever party is in power is the highest bidder. So everybody is running to the ruling party. So if you are running to the ruling party, you must understand that some people pay the price before they become a ruling party. So you yourself must be ready to pay the price. And part of the price is financial capacity of individual candidates. Because if you do not have enough financial capacity as a candidate and they sold the form for you, for instance, 5 million naira for a governorship aspirant, by the time election comes, how do you expect
their party to win the election. Because for now, an average Nigerians believe they can't vote for any candidate without any financial inducements. And that is one thing we must walk away. So the problem is also coming from the masses and the electorate. So that is the challenge we have in the Fourth Republic.
Okay, all right. Moving on to Dr. Joe Udiaja. Lucky Aiyedatiwa, the governor of Ondo State. It's been said that why would he be endorsed by the number of persons that have endorsed him? So what criteria do you think that was used by these elders to endorse Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa, and how will these endorsements influence the outcome of the primaries? You may also recall that when the former governor, God bless his soul, when he died, before he died, a lot of people were of the opinion that he should hand over power to Lucky Aiyedatiwa. I'm talking of late Akeredolu, when he was still on seat, and then people were like, why not hand over power to Lucky Aiyedatiwa? But now that these elders have come out to endorse him, to carry on with what he has been doing for the people of Ondo State since he took over power because of the death of the former governor of Ondo State. How do you think that this endorsement might come out during the primaries for Lucky Aiyedatiwa?
Well, give me a minute to go back to, because Mr. Taiwo made a lot of great points, and I understand those. I guess the point I'm making, though, is if we make these forms to be so expensive, right there, it makes it difficult for many people that have great ideas on how to do things for the people, but don't have the money to even get the forms. Okay, now, running an election is a different thing. You need money, and you can use your money, donations, and all that. I understand that. But my hope is that Nigeria will get to the point where they make these forms available without having people pay so much, because it makes it difficult for people that have great ideas on how things can be done to say, oh, I don't have the money. And of course, when you buy the election, it hurts the public. Now, back to the question you asked about endorsement. Well, endorsement happens. Of course, you like to be endorsed, and in this case, the current governor, who is an incumbent, is already being endorsed. He's already at a good point because he's there already, and now he's endorsed. So he will enjoy it. It makes it difficult or harder for the other ones, but at the same time, endorsement does not win an election. Okay, I was endorsed here when I ran for state legislature by the newspaper in the city or the town, but I didn't win. So it helps a lot, but endorsement in and of itself does not win an election. I believe that things that will help this governor include the fact that he's the current governor, and it hasn't been long since he started. If you were doing good, people will generally say, you know what, let's give him more chance. If he's not doing well, then of course he's going to be in trouble. And again, let's be clear, he started in December, so really he hasn't had enough time. So if he has done, say, 30% of what he said he would do, I believe that even without this endorsement, that many people will say, we need to give him more chance. One more thing is, it's funny, I was actually laughing when I see the three names that came up, and all of them, their name starts with A, okay? I guess, that's just the way it is. But the reason why I was smiling when I saw it was, name recognition is very important in politics. And so, with his name being A2, I can see many people just go there and vote for him because they already know him. So, what that means is that the other people who are challengers are going to have to work harder, not only in terms of saying what they can do and what they plan to do or what they have done, but also making sure they actually make their names be known to the people, because this person does have some name recognition. But the endorsements will happen that elders did it. Well, I don't know their criteria, but they feel strongly that this person is the person that will take them to the promised land. I'm sure other people will get their own endorsement. Eventually, I hope people will decide what and who actually is carrying the state to the level they want it.
Particular segment, I want us to point more on the amount of that is being sold for these forms. Given the economic hardship facing many Nigerians, we are all informed, we all know what's happening in the country. What message do you think that the pricing of these nomination forms send to parties' priorities and commitment to inclusive governance? You may recall that APC sold their forms for like I said, the APC sold their forms for about 50 million naira, and the PDP sold theirs for about 30 million naira. But then the declaration of interest form was sold for PDP for 5 million, and for APC only took money from women for 10 million naira because they are women and for people with disabilities. Does this have really any effect on these high prices of forms? And what exactly do you think that Nigerians and the government should do to make sure that the amount of money being sold for these forms are being reduced to the barest minimum, so that we'll know and be sure that the reason why people want to vie for these seats is because they really want to serve the nation and not because of the money that they would get in return, or maybe trying to, make sure they get back their money that was paid to purchase these forms. This question.
Is this for me?
Yes, it is.
Okay, sorry. Well, again, my concern with these forms and other money thrown into any party, even in this country, is that it ends up being that the voice of the people is secondary. And that is unfortunate. Now, obviously, in developed nations, the voice of the people, nonetheless, will come out. In Nigeria, it looks like that voice comes out when these politicians show money to them. So the politicians don't really go to the public to say, donate money to me because of my ideas. They are going there, giving them food, giving them all this from the money they have or they have collected from rich people or from other sources. That does not help. So again, it comes back to what I was saying. I hope that we get to a point where we start, at least with these nomination forms, to make it such that people that don't have a lot of money but have great ideas can afford them. I also want to mention the issue of women. I was trying to understand the lowering of the cost of the form for them, and also for the physically challenged. Well, there are two ways you can look at it, especially for the physically challenged. That's good because you do want to get them into the political playing field. For the women, you can say the same thing, but we have to be careful here because the way we treat women in our society, if we make this form such that, okay, if you are a woman, your cost is small. Well, it becomes an issue because then my question is, would they be treated equally? Or would they suffer because they came in with lower money? Now, again, I'm trying to understand the role or in terms of the position, the woman, because he didn't say fully for running, he says something for declaration. So if the declaration is different, even then, the cost should be the same for male and female, because you don't want to make it where female feels or male feels like, okay, I pay more, therefore you only here because of A, B, C, D. That is not helping women, and something that it is something I hope that women will fight, because equality has a price to it. And I support women equality. And part of that equality is to say, yes, we will pay for it so that when we come, we sit at the same table. So again, with the handicap, I can understand making it easier for them because they already have some physical challenges. And so it's good to bring them in without having them pay a whole lot. So that's really what I would say in terms of the cost issue. But at the same time, we cannot look at it in isolation.
Okay.
We have to look at entire money that we spend in politics in Nigeria. That's something that I hope INEC or even the National Assembly will look at to see, are we buying people without telling them what we will do? Do they even understand what we will do? Or do they focus on the rice and tomato and all those things we give them? If I give those out here, I will be in jail. Again, I'm not saying we should copy America, but at the same time, we are copying them in many other things. So we might as well copy some progressive things that will help our society to make sure that the playing field is actually fair.
All right. Thank you very much for your submission, Dr. Joe Udaja. Moving forward to our next topic of discussion, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll go straight into the Labour Party matters. Stay tuned.
Sure.
Hi, Zara.
Ramon, come and help me. You can sell enough to be able to track our person this evening.
Ramon, have this. This is what you have to do. You understand? This is what you have to do.
Zara.
Ramadan, watan samladane. Nasoda kaunane marabauta dashi.
Ramon, me haka. Ramon.
Oh, don't worry. Stains don't matter. It can be wiped off with just one wash.
Okay. Thank you.
Zara.
Ramadan.
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. The Labour Party on Wednesday alleged that the life of the party's national chairman, Julius Abure, is under threat. This was the position of the party after an arson attack on the Abuja residence of Abure. National Publicity Secretary of the party, Obiora Ifo, who made the allegation in the state, in a statement in Abuja, said that Abure escaped an assassination attempt at his residence. According to him, and I quote, Abure's residence was also gutted by a mysterious fire which started a few minutes after 1 a.m. while Abure and his family members were asleep. According to a family member who narrated the incident, the family was woken up by neighbors and security men living in the compound who raised the alarm. Joining us virtually to discuss this is Dr. Joe Udaja, still with us, of course, and we still have Mr. Okweoluwa Taiwo. This question is to you, Mr. Okweoluwa Taiwo. What do you think are the potential motives behind the alleged assassination attempt on Julius Abure, the national chairman of the Labour Party? Remember that the convention was just concluded, and of course, he emerged the winner of the election that was conducted. He, of course, assumed his duty back as the national chairman of the Labour Party, even though a lot of people are of the opinion that he should resign and that he was not meant to, of course, get back into power as the national chairman. Could that be the reason why maybe, as said by Obiora Ifo, that there was an attempted assassination on Julius Abure'S life?
All right. So for the national chairman of the Labour Party, you know, there are threats, and there was a threat. There was a threat to his office, and there was a threat to his own personality. No, there are two things. There are two different things entirely. It's one thing to have a threat on your position. It's another thing to have a threat on your personality. So, you know, in the last 1 year or thereabout, there has been a threat on his office as a national chairman, and also on his personality. Number one, personality in terms of the financial capacity and his financial integrity as a chairman in terms of record keeping and reporting all the financial transactions that took place during the 2023 general election, which some people said was not transparent enough. But how he became the chairman again, well, that's another conversation entirely. And I'm sure the membership of Labour Party should understand critically that having a strong voice as a national chairman is very needed. We need a strong opposition in Nigeria. You can see that as of today, apart from Labour Party, which other strong opposition do we have? The answer is none. They are all sleeping. They are all sleeping giants as of today. Maybe by 2027 general election, they might decide to wake up again. So it is very critical to understand that having assassination threats is not a new thing in the Nigerian politics. One thing the national chairman of Labour Party, Abure, must understand as of today is for him to write the IG of police, asking him for more security, because you are a strong opposition to the ruling party. So you should not expect that your movement will be free and fair. That is not possible. It's a politics of bitterness, so to say, in some quarters. So you must beef up your security. So having assassination threats on yourself, you must understand that is it coming to you as a personality or is it threat on your office? So you must understand which one is coming first and how do I prevent the one that is coming first. Then we can understand that, you know, you are, for today as a national chairman, you are also a state property. So the IG must protect your interests as of today, because you are not holding that position for yourself. You are holding it for millions of Labour Party members all over Nigeria. And because of that, the state also must protect you. So if the state cannot protect you, that's another conversation. So for now, having assassinational threats is not new in the Nigerian politics. So Abure, look for the IG for immediate security to ascertain your position as the new chairman of Labour Party.
Dr. Joe, do you share the same thought or line of view, or do you think that there's really nothing like a planned assassination or an attempt on Julius Abure's life? Do you share in that thought of view as well? Can you please unmute your mic so that we can hear you properly? We still can't hear you. Please help us unmute your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry.
Please go on.
Okay, yeah. Violence is never a solution, okay? Unfortunately, it happens. I was saddened when I hear this, and I was saddened for Nigeria, not just for this, but for what has been going on in the country. The violence that has been going on in the country is very scary. It's so scary that today I cannot come to Nigeria with my family, and I really want to do that. So what I'm hoping is that the parties will see this as this is an attack on the institution of party in the country, not just the individual. So not only the Labour Party, but the APC, the PDP, the Labour Union, and other parties, and all Nigerians should look at this and say, regardless what this man did or said, he does not have to be killed. His family does not have to wake up in this nightmare. So I'm hoping that the security agencies are doing their work and that they will let the public know what they are doing, because that will help to discourage other people. I don't know if it is internally planned, externally planned, or an individual. Those are things that security agents will determine, and hopefully they will let the public know. But I agree too that Mr. Abure'S and the Labour Party should make sure they provide security. You know, even in this country, I had to provide security for myself when I ran for office. And my family was concerned, even though the risk was very small. But there's always a risk when you are in the public eye. There's always a risk when you want to be involved. There are enemies, there are people. The major issues facing Nigeria and other African countries is that many times not adequate investigation are conducted, and many things are swept under the rug. So even sometimes the criminals are caught and they are let go, or they will say they have forgiven them. That is what makes a difference, and that shouldn't continue. So I wish that the family is doing well, and you know, so he can get back to what he's doing, and the party will continue.
Thoughts, because we are pressed for time. But we want to thank you so much, Dr. Joe Udiaja, who happens to be a political analyst and an educationist. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today. Also, Mr. Kweolua Taiwo, we appreciate you for being on the show with us today as well.
Thank you. All right.
And that's what we can take on today's episode of Political Voice on VOP TV. I'm Masina Chioka for joining us again.